Hello, welcome to today's Dean's Lunchtime Chat. I'm Allison Werder. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer and Assistant Dean here at Isenberg, and I'm just going to kick off with a little bit of intro and some housekeeping before we get started. First, we're excited to have you here. Thanks for joining us. The Dean's going to kick it off with a little bit of an update about how the year is going. Then we're going to turn it over to our Assistant Dean of the Office of Career Success, who's going to talk about the hiring market that we're seeing out there. And then secondly, we're going to turn it over to our Associate Dean, Traci Hess, who's going to talk about some new initiatives for academics, particularly iSucceed, which is geared towards student success. So a couple housekeeping issues. First, this webinar is being recorded, so we can air it at a later date. So by joining us, you consent to this recording, hopefully. Also, for questions during this session, I know we sent out during the registration, there were opportunities to submit questions in advance, which we will get to later in the conversation, or we've worked some into the discussion. But also, if you would like to submit questions during this webinar, the Q&A function at the bottom is activated. So please submit those questions as we're going along. I will be actively monitoring that. And hopefully at the end, if we have time, we will bubble up those questions and the Dean and the Associate Deans will respond to those. So, but cameras and microphones will be disabled throughout this webinar. So please, and the chat function won't be available. So please do use the Q&A function as we go along. So without any further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dean Massey to get us started.
Well, thank you, Allison. Well, welcome, everyone. I know we have a number of alumni and parents with us for our latest lunchtime chat. I hope you're enjoying the fall here in Amherst. It's a beautiful fall day, a little bit brisk, but everyone seems to be pretty happy. A nice, bright, sunny day. So I just wanted, before we get to our program, we've got a full agenda for the next 50 minutes to an hour. I did want to give you a few updates regarding where we are with the school, because I know a number of you are very interested. First off, as you may well be aware, we're into the first year of our 5-year strategic plan, Roadmap 2027, making great progress towards a number of our goals. And later in January, you will be we'll be sending out both in print and then also on our website, the Dean's annual report for 2023, and you'll get some updates on our progress against goals in that report and give you a good year in review of what's transpired in Isenberg here this year. For some of you, for first-year parents of first-year students, we had a very successful induction ceremony, the second annual induction ceremony in October as part of Families Weekend. That was a very fun event, and we brought in about 800 first-year students, a combination of direct admit students as well as our transfer students. So that was, again, a very fun event, and I think it's becoming a nice annual thing that we've had as part of our Families Weekend. We had a great turnout for homecoming weekend. We had an open house in our Isenberg tailgate. And thankfully, the football team won if you got a chance to be in town for that weekend. We are also within the school. I just wanted to tell you about a few things that we're doing that I want to thank our alumni and many of our donors that are allowing us to do that affect both students and faculty alike. We're in the midst of rolling out our technology sandbox, which is going to be used for teaching and learning. And in that sandbox, we are going to have some technologies such as virtual reality, augmented reality, 3D printers, and the like that many organizations use in whatever they're working on, that we need to integrate into our classroom settings. We need faculty to be upskilled on those technologies and learn how to create some in-class and student activities. And so that technology sandbox will allow faculty to do that, and it will also allow students to come in and play with some of these technologies that they're going to have experiences with when they go out into the work world. So it's great for recruiting and placement as well. We also have, that's rolling out, starting to open up, is our behavioral lab, which is a behavioral research lab that faculty and doctoral students will be using in their research. And we want to thank Doug and Diana Berthiaume in particular, because the gift that they gave us last spring of, as you have been made aware, of $20 million was a key component in allowing us to build out that behavioral lab. That behavioral lab is essential to the research of many of our faculty, and it is also a great recruiting tool as we bring in new faculty. which, by the way, we are in the midst of hiring, and it's a crazy hiring cycle for us. 20 lines of faculty, both tenure track and lecturers this coming year. So we're in the midst of that. We've got a great run, a great group of people so far that we've made offers to that have accepted. And so we're just going to keep that rolling on that. I'll give you, we'll have more updates on that as the year unfolds. Lastly, I just want to point out for our alumni, I've had a wonderful opportunity to see many of you at our events in Boston and New York. We will be continuing those in the spring, so stay tuned for announcements on those dates. But we've had a wonderful turnout in Boston and New York for our various events, and so we will continue doing that. So without further ado, I do want to turn it over to our guest today, Holly Lawrence, who is our Assistant Dean for our Office of Career Success. Many of you have seen and met Holly before. She does a wonderful job leading that office and all the wonderful career coaches and the peer careers, the student peer coaches. And Holly's going to give us an update because I know in particular families and alumni are really interested in what the job market looks like for our students. And so she's going to be giving us that update right now. So I'm going to turn it over to Holly. Welcome, Holly. Thank you for joining us for this lunchtime chat.
Thank you, Dean Massey, for that introduction. I do have a presentation that will give an overview of the career landscape for Isenberg students, including early stats on the undergraduate class of 2023 outcomes, as well as updates on our career services, resources, and curriculum. But as Dean Massey said, I'm going to start with the job market and what it's like today. So the National Association of Colleges and Employers, NACE, is the gold standard for an outlook on college hiring. Their 2024 Job Outlook report for college students is based on employer survey results, and NACE is reporting that overall hiring is expected to dip by 1.9% in 2024. So that's just a little bit, and it's important to note the context. So hiring is down from the last 2 years when the college job market experienced record growth levels, especially in 2022. So if the projections hold, 2024 grads will still enter a strong job market. 3/4 of employers rated the market for 2024 grads as good to excellent. We're also seeing employers shift away from a concrete fact like a GPA as a primary screening tool and looking more closely at transferable skills, competencies, and attributes. So some of the top-rated skills include teamwork, communication, and critical thinking. So in response, we're encouraging students to develop and polish skills through tools we have available to them, such as work simulations through a company called Forage, as well as LinkedIn Learning, and both are free to our students. I know from the popular press, you probably followed news stories about layoffs, especially in tech, finance, and consulting. So in addition to developing competencies and skills both in and out of the class, we're advising students at the grad and undergrad levels to be flexible and have options as industry shifts. So we want them to open up their view of potential employers, smaller firms, for example, instead of some of the corporate giants they may have had in mind. In short, in some industry recruiters are being a little more cautious and making offers a little later in the spring than fall. But as NACE reports, offers are still occurring. So one other thing I'm just going to throw out there, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to say this or not, but I will, and that is we are seeing some students accept an offer while they're also still looking, and we discourage that, but we also understand it. It's a bit of a national trend. We understand they want the security of the offer and the flexibility to continue looking if they haven't gotten the offer that they really wanted in the first place. But we discourage that behavior. We don't think it's quite the right ethical message, but we do understand it. And what we suggest is students go ahead with that first offer, give it a shot, and try to move into the position they're looking for in that organization, because there will be opportunities for advancement. Okay, so that is a bit on the job market. And now I am going to jump into my presentation here. Let me see if I'm on it. There we go. So let me tell you a little bit about what's going on with the job market and our most recent grads. So the class of 2023, we don't have all the data in yet, but salaries so far are up. So the average starting salary is $70,847. So that's a nice climb from last year's 2022's average salary. And the highest reported salary, I think this is an incredible salary for an undergrad, is $155,000. So we'll have more information on the class of 2023 over the next couple of months, because we will continue to collect that data through 6 months post-graduation. So this is just a early snapshot, as I said. So we normally see around a 95% offer acceptance rate by 6 months after graduation. So I expect these figures to climb, but so far we've seen by October 1st that 75% of our students seeking employment were already employed by then. We also know that some of our students are going on to grad school, and there's been a national trend toward pursuing a specialized master's in particular, such as an MSA or an MF or an MSBA, all of which Isenberg offers. Many of our accounting majors have gone on from MSA over the years. That's been pretty traditional because it's an efficient way to earn the 150 credit hours that are required for them to achieve the CPA exam, and then they also earn an advanced degree at the same time. So that's a pretty sweet deal for some of our students. But we also are seeing a trend, as I said, that's national around a pursuit of a one-year specialized master's degree. And we see students across the majors, both within Isenberg as well as from other parts of campus, who are pursuing a specialized master's. And some of our top hiring companies you may have seen before, but this so far for 2023, our employers. So the top 10 so far, you recognize a number of accounting firms, but they hire across majors. So you don't have to think that they're just hiring the accounting students, that's for sure. So we have some excellent partners in multiple industries who are hiring across our majors. Let's see. So internships, they're happening. We surveyed some juniors, and in fall 2022 through spring 23, we saw that 65% reported at having at least one internship. 32% reported having more than one internship. I think those are great stats. And some of the details about the internships, 88% reported being paid with an average hourly of $23.29, which is up from last year. And our top 3 employers with internships were the TJX, EY, and Deloitte stars from the previous slide about our top employers. So probably no surprise there that they start as interns and many end up with full-time offers. I thought I would switch just a little bit to the MSBA. It is our specialized master's. It's one of several, as I've already mentioned, but we have 2022 data. We don't have the data for 2023 on them yet, but just at a glance, this will give you a sense of what happens with some of the grads from that program. So the different career options are analytics, consulting, information systems, project management. These are typical options, and the industries range, as you can see, from accounting to technology, supply chain, retail, and then some of the top employers for our MSBAs. And you can see that the average salary is a pretty nice one. I wanted to share a little bit with you about our coaching services. So our students meet both in person and virtually with our professional staff. And we have a wonderful, highly experienced professional staff and group of career coaches. We have them dedicated to specific grad populations as well as undergrad populations. And students can make an appointment very easily online through the main system at UMass or through a Microsoft Bookings appointment if they're grad students. Super easy to do. And in the appointment, they can go over things like career paths, what they might do with a major, resumes, interview prep. When they get to the point where they've had an offer, they can evaluate it with a coach. So that's a service we're super proud of. We're also very proud of our career peers, and this is just a sampling of some of them. We have 15 career peers and this year, and we'll possibly need even more next year. You never know, because they're very, very busy. So starting in their first year, Isenberg students meet with career peers as part of a class assignment, but that's just the beginning of what becomes a recurring relationship between younger students and our peers. So our students, we find, often form bonds with the career peers, and then eventually they go on to apply for the job and become career peers themselves. So we've found that they really serve as an extension of our professional staff and as mentors to our younger students. So they talk about their own experiences, they share insights about selecting a major, choosing a career path, building the resume, an internship they might have had, joining professional clubs, and much, much more. So they are a huge asset to the Office of Career Success, and they are generously sponsored by an alum, Beth Gamble, and we're so appreciative of that gift. There was an early question about what happens outside of the traditional, perhaps, career services and what other career prep that our students get. We have a number of classes for our students, both the undergrads and some of our grad students. So starting in the first year, all students take our first year seminar. It's called Transitions, in addition to other things about learning on life on campus and what it's like to be in Isenberg, and some bigger exploration with life questions. They also get a fair amount of career content in the fall and then again in the spring, like elevator pitch, some networking basics, resume, and so on. Then in the sophomore year, all majors take what's called career and professional development, where we add in cover letters, we do more industry research, they practice behavioral interviewing, they learn about case study interviewing and other things. And then for students who transfer in as juniors, we do sort of a combination of the first and second year class, really put it on steroids, if you will, and they get all of the what they would have gotten in those two classes and then some. Those students come in with an associate's degree. Also during the junior year, we have our business communication class, and it is written and oral communication, analysis and persuasion, interpersonal effectiveness. And it's really about developing the professional in students to make them workplace ready. And then at the graduate level, we have a career and professional development seminar. And it really has the career toolkit pieces plus customized content by degree. So our on-campus MBAs, for example, take a required class, this class, and so do our MSBAs. And so they get individualized, customized content that's really directed toward what their career goals may be. As students who are in those particular degree programs, they work with business communication faculty as well as career coaches to really help them in the job search. All right, I think that that is what I have for that share, and I am going to show you a little more with a new share. Let's see, sick. There we go. All right, so I wanted to share with you, if you can see our iConnect site. So iConnect is our virtual career center. We have content here both for undergrads and for grads. And I'm here hovering over the nav around the undergrad. And what you can see is the accounting, finance, hospitality major, and so on. So we have something here for each major as well as prospective undergrads. So I'm just going to click on finance and show you some of the things that are here. And you can do this with your student or as alums, you can poke around as well. You can't get deep in though without having a UMass ID for signing in. But we have things like career pathing documents that help students really understand the major, what finance is and what they can do with it. Some of those learning tools I mentioned before, understanding the industry. So we have a way to gain industry experience, real world experience. This is the Forage program I mentioned earlier. And so you can see here that we have a sampling of investment banking from Citi and fixed income from PGIM. There's a bunch here that students can tap into to learn some skills in finance that they may want to polish outside of the classroom experience. So the same thing for grad students. I showed you the MSBA, a little bit of a profile on it. If you were to go down this list, you could find profiles on all of them and see the outcomes from previous years for different programs, as well as get information for prospective students. We have a belonging and inclusion piece on our iConnect site with lots of resources broken down by affinity group. I wanted just to show you briefly international, what we have here. We have a lot of international students who find this site, I think, quite helpful, in particular, our investment in a tool called Interstride. And Interstride is a wonderful database that helps students find alumni as well as others who have networking opportunities and information to share with them about job options, including a database of companies that have sponsored international students in the past. So this is a wonderful resource we're really thankful for. There are some guides and how-tos. Also, we call them IDAs, Isenberg Digital Assets, and we update these regularly. I just want to show you what we created recently. These are our Isenberg resume guides for the different level students. These are all customized to what we know our students need and what our employers are looking for. I think you should be able to pop in here and take a look at them if you want, but these are produced in-house. These are our IDAs. And then, of course, there's a way to make a career coaching appointment, pop in and see those career peers, as well as our other staff, job and internship searches, and so on. So I think those are some of the main things to see for what happens outside of the class. And before I turn things over to Dean Hess, I did just want to say a little bit to alumni, because I got an early question a bit about alumni services in particular. And so I wanted just to share with you some of how we engage with our alumni in this office. So I'll start with the fact that my office offers one-to-one career advising to alumni up to 6 months after graduation. We also can provide many other resources from iConnect and other places well beyond the 6 months with our young grads who need them. And then all alumni have access to our tool or a database, Handshake, which lists thousands and thousands of jobs. It's a huge database that alumni can access. And of course, our central services has a number of resources, including an hour of free advising, as well as reduced rate advising and other tools. So anybody interested in alumni career services, please feel free to reach out to my office, either to me directly or to another member of our team. All our contact information is on iConnect. So also with alumni who want to help our current students, people asked about that, we have some great options. So first, as I mentioned, we have donors, alumni who support like our career peers, and we are forever grateful for those donations. We've had donations cover some of our career technologies, some of the ones that we have on iConnect, in fact. And we've recently introduced Clifton Strengths into some of our classes, and that's another resource that we're offering students that alumni could help us out with as well. New programming such as Treks, which are on-site visits to companies, whether it's an overnight in New York and a visit to a number of companies, or just a day trip to Boston. We're always looking for people to partner with us on those Treks. It's great. But in addition to philanthropic gestures, we have many other opportunities. For example, my office's employer relations team is launching a January campaign to significantly increase our employer network. So if you have opportunities in your organization or know of opportunities, please contact me or one of my employer engagement team members. Again, you can find us on iConnect. We welcome the opportunity to chat with you about positions that may be open now or could be coming up in the future, whether internships or full-time jobs, something for undergrads, grads, domestic or international students. We'd love to hear from you as our alumni cheer champions. So I think that's it for me. Dean Massey, I will turn it over to you and Traci.
Thank you very much, Holly. I think that's very encouraging, the numbers and the opportunities. And so thank you very much for that overview. We may get some more questions later. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to our Senior Associate Dean for Academic Programs, Traci Hess. And Traci's going to give us a little bit of an overview of a new initiative around a platform called iSucceed, which is a mobile device application really geared towards trying to engage students in activities outside the classroom, but with the goal of helping them develop some skills and competencies. So Traci, without further ado, I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Anne, and thank you, Holly, for your earlier presentation. I'm going to go ahead and share some slide decks with you, some slides with you. Great. All right, so as Anne was mentioning, iSucceed is a student engagement app using the system that was offered and developed by Suitable that helps Isenberg to identify and promote important events and activities that occur outside of the classroom, increasing student engagement. We want to reach students on the computing device that they use most frequently, their phone, and build student competency in 4 critical areas. The first being career and professional development, which is supported by our Office of Career Success, as Holly Lawrence just shared. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, as we create global citizens and inclusive leaders. Leadership, which our students learn about in the classroom, but they really grow into leaders through their activities outside of the classroom. And then with technology skills and competencies, which are increasingly critical in the workplace. So iSucceed guides and rewards student participation with badges. These student badges can be showcased on LinkedIn and facilitate networking. And student participation with iSucceed is designed to extend over the 3+ years that students are with us in Isenberg. So what are our goals with this new system and infrastructure that we're putting into place? Well, we hope to improve student attendance at a wide range of events. We want to increase student engagement, increase employer engagement, improve our communication and outreach, advance our strategic priorities related to students. That includes enabling our student success and creating global citizens and inclusive leaders. We also want to assess our performance along these areas. So along those lines, we launched a more extended pilot on September 18th. We started with our freshmen and about half of our sophomores, as these are the students taking required transitions classes and a career and professional development class. So about 1,400 students. We offered iSucceed as an optional activity so that we can establish the infrastructure from a communications and an operational perspective, getting students into the app and getting used to scanning QR codes at events. So we have set up our competency and badging system in iSucceed, and so far we've posted over 200 events and activities. Students have accessed the app to see the activities and earn points. Thus far, students have accomplished and earned 192 advanced Excel badges, and we've already had 2 students complete competency badges, which include a range of different activities. So iSucceed also helps us with assessment. And specifically, what does it help us assess? It helps us to assess student engagement as we can track participation and progress across those 4 competencies. We can also look at our scope of event and activity offerings by competency, through each department, related to employers, and even related to the time of year. So we can look to see, do we need to offer more events here? Are there too many events going on at this particular time? This week there's a lot of midterms, so do we need a more quiet time, or do we want to offer a social break to students? And we also want to look at our communication and incentive effectiveness. So how does iSucceed work? So we do have an initial exposure as soon as students get into Isenberg through their freshman level course. And so they get introduced to it in this freshman level transitions course offered by the Office of Career Success. And then they get reintroduced to it again through a sophomore level class on career and professional development. The app itself delivers events, activities, and a scoreboard to students so that they can see what they've accomplished and how far they have to go before they earn a badge. It highlights upcoming events. Like this week, we had a virtual event, WISE Tearing Down the Pink Wall, which is a panel discussion on women in finance. And we also have upcoming Thursday evening an Isenberg South Africa leadership trip information session, along with many other events. So students can actually click on the event through their phone and they can read more about the event. When they show up, they can actually take out their phone again, scan that QR code, or submit a photo of a virtual workshop, and they receive credit and points toward these badges. So our staff then review the badges, review the attendance and submissions toward the badges, and then they can go back and actually share attendance log with event coordinators. So again, we can kind of close that loop and look at who attended, what grade level, what majors, and are we reaching the students that we hope to reach. So going a little bit further into the point and badging system, we've designed these different levels to attract students in different grades. So for example, level 1 is designed for freshmen. And at that level, they're going to complete some shorter activities, say 10 activities in each competency. They might go to a panel session on the accounting major. They might go to a session offered by the management department on getting ready for class registration, and any number of different activities, student club fairs, etc. And they earn points for that level. And then as they move into level 2, typically targeted to sophomores, they're completing more advanced activities that take longer. They only have to complete 5 of those activities in each competency area. And then as they move into their junior and senior year, they're completing even more comprehensive and advanced activities. For example, they might serve as an academic advising peer. They might, land a full-time job offer, and all of those things can count toward a competency badge. And as they earn points and earn different levels, the badge increases, as you can see by the ribbon color. So they move from an overall achievement, overall honors, and then high honors. And we also have individual activity badges like this Excel Advanced User badge, which is very popular. And so students can actually take an exam outside of class that showcases their Excel competency. And after earning this badge, it actually counts as to the technology competency, and they can upload this badge. It's now an official credential on LinkedIn and showcase what they've accomplished. So our next steps with iSucceed are to roll it out to really all of our students from freshmen to seniors, to actually go forward and look more at how we can align it with really very specific employer needs. So as we built out the reward system and the activities in iSucceed, we have aligned these activities with the competencies that our students need to succeed in the workplace and become good global citizens. We can go one more step further and actually working with employers to identify their specific skills and align those skills with specific activities and even employer endorsed badges. We hope to move forward and integrate iSucceed with some of our other systems on campus, including our learning management system, and then periodically revamp and re-energize this engagement app so that we continue to engage our students and we reflect their interest and our employer goals. And that's really wraps up our summary of iSucceed, and I'll turn it back over to Dean Massey. Thank you.
Thank you, Traci. And I do want to give a big shout out to Traci. Traci has done the yeoman's work along with the Office of Career Success, Holly Lawrence, and Associate Dean Janet Fink on getting this up and running. But I know Traci knows this one inside and out and has really done a fantastic job. I also was at an event earlier this week, and Holly announced a student who had already achieved 2 badges. So, we're making good progress there. So I think it's really a kind of a fun environment, and certainly something parents out there know with your son or daughter having their face in their phone. So this is a good platform for them. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it back to Allison. Allison Werder has been, I want to thank Allison for her efforts here too, but she's been tracking some of the questions that we got before, that people submitted before today, along with some of the Q&A that has been gone live here. So Allison, I'm going to turn it to you and throw out some questions. And Traci, if you want to come back on, just in case there's some questions that we might need you to answer as our academic programs person. So Allison?
Yeah, I think we've been getting a lot of questions. As you said, we have some in advance and some that have been coming in, and I know we've been addressing some of them directly in the chat boards. But I guess, Holly, I'll put the first one to you. It was that there are several questions about internships for underclassmen, right? For sophomores and juniors. And I think there's probably a lot of interest here on what that looks like. Do a lot of sophomores take it? And then the other side of that question is juniors who are still waiting to hear back on internships. Like, should they be actively engaging and following up? What's the timing for internships to get locked up?
I'm turning and looking at a colleague here with some of these questions because she and I were just talking about some of them. I answered some of them directly, I think, in there, but sophomores definitely have opportunities. Certainly, there are more opportunities for juniors for internships, and those tend to happen a little more aggressively in the fall, and sophomores might see more movement in the spring. But there are a number of companies that will hire sophomores, some of our best employer partners. And then there's some other opportunities that sophomores may not be aware of that we try to inform them of them in the classes and in their advising visits. And they're through 2 companies. One is Paragon One and one is called Parker Dewey. And they organize some really interesting short-term experiences. And they might be what's called a micro internship, where it's project-based, or it could be an externship where it might be more observation, sort of a day in the life kind of situation where you have an experience in an organization. So those really work well for sophomores.
Okay. Let's see, I'm going to pivot here a little bit. This was a question submitted in advance, and this is a kind of a general question for, I guess this is probably for Dean Massey, about students in business classes. I know we just went through registration for the next semester coming up. Is there a plan to add more required business classes? They have a junior who's, trying to get the requirements in.
First off, I will share that we have never had at least in the known history of Isenberg, a student not be able to complete their requirements and graduate in 4 years. So that is has never happened. We do add sections as needed if that is the case. One thing we do find is oftentimes, in particular juniors, they are looking at their schedule and looking out towards finishing up their junior and senior year. And they oftentimes think that they have to take some things in their junior year, their 3rd year, when in fact they can take it in their senior year. So they get a little bit nervous and they think, I can't get in. And obviously we register the seniors first, then the juniors, sophomores, and 1st-year students. So I don't think that there's any concern there. I will strongly encourage those students, we always do this, to meet with advisors and look at their finishing of their program, their schedules. And so meeting with advisors and mapping that out is really important. Sometimes we have some students who don't do that and may wait till the last minute, and then they've created some problems for themselves. So I think we're in good shape as far as getting in.
Okay. Let's see, I'm looking into the chat thing right now. I thought this was an interesting question that just came up. Do we have internship opportunities over winter break?
There are some, there are not as many of those certainly, and they might be more driven by a particular industry, but the ones I just mentioned, for example, the Parker Dewey and Paragon One are really good options, and they do have some that are in the winter. There's also the opportunity to skill up. And that's what I was talking about before with the virtual work experiences. So they're simulations, But I showed you some on our iConnect site, and they're sponsored by, you know, great companies, Citi, PwC, Lululemon, and they have all kinds of opportunities that span the majors as well. So I encourage students to take advantage of winter as a time to do some of that digging into LinkedIn Learning and then those work simulations.
And I think we're also, Holly and Tracy knows this, we're getting increasingly students in that winter term taking a class. So they kind of continue moving along and degree completion. So taking advantage of that time is really important.
Okay, and Holly, it was asked if you can put those two, you just mentioned the two companies, if you can drop them in the chat, so people can know who you said, that would be helpful. Yeah.
Is it the chat or the Q&A that I'm using?
I'm sorry, the Q&A. Yeah,
okay.
And make it public in the Q&A. Yes,
okay,
good clarification.
I'm happy
So
to.
another question here that came in advance for the dean, more of a general question. What are some changes and improvements you would like to see happen at Isenberg over the next few years?
Well, I would encourage everyone to look at our strategic plan, Roadmap 2027, and these lays out our goals and our priority areas, which we've been focused on for now since my start in 2019. We still are making some key investments in technology to support the Office of Career Success, the iConnect platform, for example, any additional IDAs. We are investing in iSucceed. We are investing in our technology sandbox and our behavioral research lab. All of those things will help enable and inspire innovations in teaching and learning, will help us attract and retain some top faculty and upskill our faculty as well as our students. So those are things that we just keep pushing and moving along. And again, I have to thank our alumni and donors, because we do a lot with a little. And so anything that we get, so a lot of things that we do, especially what I just described, is often enabled because people want to give back to the school, and then we're able to do things that we wouldn't otherwise do. I've mentioned in other settings, for example, and I'd like to see this continue to grow. When I started, we were doing annual scholarships for students, in Isenberg scholarships at about $350,000 a year. We are now up to almost $1.1 million that we are giving out to students in scholarship monies that your undergraduate students can apply for. And this could be $1,000 or $2,000, but it certainly helps. And the students are very appreciative. And I'm sure the families are. So we just keep pushing all of these things. Allison and her team and marketing communications will be going live at some point with some materials on our websites, interactive materials around our strategic plan. And you'll be able to take a look at some of the metrics we're using and the progress against goals. So we'll be pushing that out here soon, I hope.
Okay, here's a question that just came in, you mentioned the behavioral lab. It says, what is the focus or goal of the behavioral research lab, and how early in a student's career can they get involved?
So the behavioral research lab is really targeted at our faculty, as well as doctoral students, although there may be some opportunities for undergraduates or master's students who are interested in research and are working on projects with faculty to get in there. One of the technologies that the faculty were particularly excited about and that I have used in my own research is eye tracking technology and galvanic skin response technology. So you are showing people things on a screen, and you are looking to see, what are they looking at? The eye tracking, what are they looking at? What are they interested in? You can imagine this in a marketing. You're designing a online, like for example, Amazon does this all the time, right? And I know most of us use Amazon. They want to know what you are looking at on a screen, what draws your attention. With the galvanic skin response, for example, you are also able to see if there is a physiological reaction to something. And so these are just two of the kinds of technologies in the behavioral research lab. We have faculty in operations information management, faculty in marketing, faculty in accounting, behavioral accounting, that use these kinds of technologies to better understand what the consumer or what the user is interested and reacts to. So we're very, very excited about it. Again, this was an area that when prospective faculty we were trying to recruit, they would come to campus and they'd say to us, how am I going to do my research? Where is the lab to do my research? And so this is going to help us respond to that. So we're very excited about that. And it's up. And by the way, we also have been instituted, and I want to thank Traci on this one, a learning and technologies research group. And we have Susan Boyer, who's a wonderful instructional designer. And we have just hired 2 new L&R technology consultants that are going to help support that lab and support students and faculty in using the technologies, and also in our technology sandbox, which is geared more towards teaching environments. So we're very, very excited about these things.
Okay, pivoting a little bit, this was a question that came in, I think yesterday from someone who was registered. And the question is from an alumnus. What is UMass doing to support students' mental health?
Yeah, I will say, you know, first off, the campus has done quite a bit. I mean, we have our counseling services. We have our vice chancellor and the Office for Student Affairs investing in a lot of resources that are available to students 24/7, you know, counselors and the like. In Isenberg, we are also trying to do some things within the bounds of our expertise to not only make students feel that they belong here in Isenberg, but that it is a supportive environment. And so I have, for example, I have my undergraduate student advisory group. I've got 15 students that work with me annually. One of the projects they're working on right now is, we call it a balance and wellness project. And they are benchmarking other schools of what are other business schools doing, because our students, as all of you know, are oftentimes under a lot of stress. They've got their coursework, they've got their job search, some of them work, they've got their personal lives, they've got all sorts of things on their plate. Clubs and activities they're engaged in. How do they balance those things? How do we help them become more resilient and because whatever we can help them do here, they're going to take out into the workforce and they're going to do there. And so we're looking at a number of things that we may want to do within Isenberg to really help them on their, you know, really a sense of belonging, but also an ability to handle stress, manage stress, and be able to get the things done that they need to do. So we'll stay tuned on that one. The students, my student team is very excited about this. I have a meeting with them this evening, in fact, about some of their early findings.
Okay, great. So pivoting a little bit, I think this question is probably for Holly and maybe even Traci, and maybe as it pertains to your role of graduate programs before. The question was, and Holly, I know you shared salaries, starting salaries for students coming out. The question was, how do our undergraduate salaries compare to the graduate salaries? Are we seeing a big differentiation between what they make coming out undergraduate versus if they stay in and pursue a 1 or a multiple year degree?
I think it really depends on the degree and what their undergraduate major was. So which degree program they're pursuing at the grad level and what their starting point is. So there's a lot of apples to oranges comparisons, but just as a small one, you know, I gave the average salary so far for 2023. Now I'm forgetting it, but I think it was like 70,000 for our grads so far, what we've got so far. And then we have the average starting salary from 2022 of an MSBA I shared was over 80. So that's just a $10,000 difference, which we all know. And so again, I don't know what the undergrad major would always be that would be affecting those 2 different outcomes, but $10,000 just out of the gate can make a huge difference over 10 years, 30 years, or a lifetime, right? So that's a little snippet. Traci, do you want to add?
Yeah, I'll just add on to what Holly said in that students going into our specialized master's programs, right, they come from a range of backgrounds. And so if someone has an undergraduate degree, not in Isenberg, right, then the potential increase or advancement that one gains from a business degree can be substantial. if someone, say, is a marketing major undergrad and they couple that with an MS in business analytics, that can also be a powerful combination that adds value. So I think it just does depend on the starting undergraduate degree and what you're adding on value-wise with that graduate specialized master's.
Okay, a question that just came in, and I'm not sure how I can't remember if this was in your slides or not, but it's basically the placement rate. What % of our students land a job after they graduate? I know it's usually we have the 6-month stat. And do you find that internships are helpful in securing good jobs?
Yes, that's the bottom line to the second question. Internships are very helpful because it tells a student a lot about what it is that they have chosen as a career path. They may find that they want to make a little bit of a tweak to that, an adjustment, or they might have been aggressively pursuing an organization. And they're like, oh, that's not quite the right cultural fit for me. I'm not really sure I want to go there, or something like that. So we don't see enormous changes, but we do see some adjustments, or they might find something that they just absolutely love and they want to stay with that organization. In addition, they gain fantastic skills and experiences that they can take to an interview, whether it's with that same organization or a different one. So last year, 2022, 95% of students who we had responses from and collected data from, 95% acceptance rate within 6 months. You know, they all had a job, 95% within 6 months of graduation. This year, so far, we're seeing it at 75. I expect us to get up to the 95. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't.
Okay. Traci, a question for you that just came in regarding iSucceed. You referenced 37% student engagement. I mean, I know it's just launched out of the gate. What would you hope to see in uptake from students going forward?
Yeah, great. Thanks for that question. We've looked at other schools that have implemented some similar engagement systems, and we expect a steady increase up, right? If we're looking at 37% in our first, full pilot, then we would expect a sizable increase the next year, upwards of 50%. And we would like to target, over 80% participation. So yeah, that's our, a 3-year plan to basically get up to a level of participation where we're reaching most of our students and helping them along our strategic goals.
And I'll just add, Traci and I are in the same academic area of information systems, and we've both done quite a bit of work on IT adoption and implementation. And so it does take a little while, especially with a voluntary system that it's not required of the students. So it's not a mandated system, it's a voluntary. So we will be working, as she said, on marketing the iSucceed, as well as getting recruiters involved and having testimonials and so on. So frankly, 37% is actually pretty good right now. And we're only, 2 months in, Holly and Traci, right? So we're good.
Okay, I'm going to pivot back. There are a couple more general questions. Dean Massey, these are probably for you. We have a new chancellor, obviously, at UMass. Hopefully everyone on here knows that, and he's hit the ground running. Has he mentioned any specific plans or goals for Isenberg? Is there anything you can talk about here?
Yeah, first off, just for everyone to know, the chancellor is actually a tenured faculty member in Isenberg. He is in the finance department, so we're very proud to have him as a member of our faculty. I thought that was a good thing. He is delightful, and for those of you who don't know, I'm co-chairing the strategic planning effort for the campus for the university, and so I've been working with him, and we're getting that up and running. At this point, I will say he is everywhere, and he has spent most of the fall really trying to learn about the various schools, the various centers, the various programs, and also athletics and the student offices, et cetera, et cetera. So he's very happy with Isenberg. I will tell you that. He likes our strategic plan. He likes the direction that we've been headed. So that's all good news. So I think, and certainly then as a faculty member in Isenberg, I think we will have his full support. So he's been a delight to work with. And so I look forward to the efforts in the months ahead.
Okay, so obviously another question, which is for you, Dean Massey, it's timely given the current events that are going on. Are we seeing anti-Semitism or other issues related to the crisis going on that we're dealing with at Isenberg or even UMass in a bigger?
Well, I think it's not a big surprise. People following the news, incidents on various campuses, and certainly we've had our protesters and so forth, which is very historical at UMass. It's longstanding at UMass, and I think all of us support free speech and the like. With Isenberg, and that's what I will speak to. And I had sent out communications, internal communications. We go back to the foundations of Isenberg: respect for each other. We've got each other's back, even if we disagree. We expect civil discourse. We do not tolerate harassment or threats against any student, faculty, or staff. We're just not going to put up with it. And so I will say within Isenberg, I ask students, faculty, and staff to, and I think people, we can't be indifferent to the suffering that we've been seeing over the last month. We need to be empathetic, and that's what we ask of everyone. And so, you know, we continually work to make sure everyone feels like they belong in Isenberg and that they can thrive in Isenberg. And so that's my commitment, and I believe that's a commitment of leadership within Isenberg. And frankly, I also believe it's a commitment of most faculty and staff and students in Isenberg. So we'll keep plugging away at it. And that's not just with regard to the situation in Gaza and Israel, but any topic related to any discrimination, harassment, or threats. We just will not tolerate it.
Okay, I think we have time for maybe a couple more questions. We're going to get back to a little more specific. Let's see. I think Holly, there was a question regarding interviewing on like, and what kind of resources we give to students to prepare them for interviews, and do we do anything for like post interviews, like after they've had an interview, to do any download or get any advice about what went right or wrong?
Yes, absolutely. So we start with interview practice in classes in the sophomore year. We also have tools where students can record an interview. It's interactive. They're posed questions. They can pick different types of questions, behavioral. They could be more general, and then they can record it. They can share the recording with an instructor or with a coach. You can sit with a coach. You can do a practice/mock interview. So we have a ton of resources for that. And certainly after the interview, anybody who wants to follow up with a coach is more than welcome. I remember there was an earlier question that was a bundled question about what to do if you haven't heard back and you're kind of waiting, how to manage that. And so students are advised sometimes after an interview to follow up, not being overwhelming, but just to express ongoing interest and maybe share any additional information you might have, skills that you've developed or something else that makes you an even more appealing candidate. So lots there at both the undergrad and grad level.
Okay, and the next question came in, one of it, is there a buddy system at Isenberg where an upper class student can help mentor and coach an underclass student? I mean, I know we have the career peers, but yeah.
Me. So I was just thinking, I didn't mention when I talked about the first year seminar, I'm remiss because it is an 850 person class that is broken down into really small sections that are taught by what are called our transitions TAs. And my colleague Bob Bowes and I teach the transitions TAs to teach the younger students. And not only do they deliver the curriculum, they really serve as mentors. Like, they are there to share experience, to be an ear and listen and help these younger students navigate life on campus.
And Holly, just to give a plug, they're fantastic students.
Yeah,
and many of the, we were with them on Monday, and many of the first year students become interested themselves in becoming a transition a student. So it really is a cycle that we have both in the career peers, the transitions program, and all of the different programs where upperclassmen and women support the younger students.
Yeah, I think they can relate more to the first year experience, for example, than maybe I can at this particular age, but I'm just making a guess about that.
Well, and that's why with our undergraduate student advisory council that I mentioned earlier, the 15 or so students that I have annually, they're juniors and seniors, they are living the experience. And so, as I said, they're working on this balance and wellness project because they can speak to what their needs are, and as opposed to those of us who are a bit removed from being undergraduate students. So, Allison, I think we're watching the time. I think, unfortunately, this has been absolutely fantastic. I want to thank Holly again for all her effort and the efforts of her office. I want to thank Traci for all her efforts around I Succeed, but everything else she does, and Allison Werder and her team, marketing communications, and Shannon Petrin, who's not on the screen, but our events coordinator. She did a wonderful job. It's always a team. As I always say in Isenberg, there's no I in Isenberg because it's a team, and this is reflected here today. I also want to thank all the attendees, parents and alumni for joining us today, and great questions. Keep the questions coming. Don't ever be afraid to reach out. We're here not only for the students that are here, but for our alumni and parents as well. So I want to wish everybody a very safe and very happy Thanksgiving. I think everyone here on this end, I know the students are ready to go, and I think everybody's ready to just enjoy a couple days break. So happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving, and stay tuned. We've got all sorts of things going on, and that we'll be sharing more as the months unfold. Have a great day. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.